If you're struggling to lose weight, you've probably heard about weight loss medications like Wegovy or Zepbound, and you might be wondering if they're right for you. Meet PlushCare, a leading telehealth provider with doctors who are there for you day and night to partner with you in your weight loss journey. If you qualify, they can safely prescribe you medication from the comfort of your own home. To get started, visit plushcare.com/weightloss. That's plushcare.com/weightloss. plushcare.com/weightloss.
Your brain needs support, and new Ollie Brainy Chews are a delightful way to take care of your cognitive health. Made with scientifically backed ingredients like Thai ginger, L-theanine, and caffeine, Brainy Chews support healthy brain function and help you find your focus, stay chill, or get energized. Be kind to your mind and get these nootropic chews at ollie.com. That's OLLY.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Just a quick heads up, especially for any squeamish listeners, we are going to talk about poop today. Okay, here's the show. A few months ago, my colleague Luke Winkie met a woman named Alexandra.
Alexandra is a 66-year-old retiree on the East Coast who basically told me that she suffered from a large variety of gastrointestinal problems, your IBS, your cystitis, a bunch of bad gut stuff.
Stuff that her doctors couldn't seem to figure out.
And in her journeys through conventional medicine, she felt she was kind of turned away or ignored, felt like she was kind of regarded as like an anxious old woman. And that caused her to look elsewhere. And that caused her to discover FMT.
FMT. That's fecal microbiota transplant. It's basically exactly what it sounds like, putting good microbes into the body of a person whose gut is out of whack. How they get them in there, though, here is a doctor who does it at the Mayo Clinic.
One way to restore that is to take the healthy bacteria that normally live in the colon from a healthy person and reimplant those back into the colon of the sick person.
A little gross in concept, but fine. It makes sense. Except Alexandra wasn't eligible for FMT in a hospital setting. So she did what a lot of people do these days. She went online.
If you go to certain subreddits or certain Facebook groups, you'll see people, doing this completely independently all by themselves. I remember I read a very memorable thread on the subreddit about a guy being like, so I've been getting my dad's poop. But it goes beyond just gut ailments. There are people you will see on these FMT communities that believe that superior gut health or the gut bacteria could solve their schizophrenia or their depression or their obesity, just basically any sort of ailment beyond, what you might logically think an FMT might solve, which is, gut problems.
And that is how Alexandra found herself paying more than $1,000 to order a stranger's feces off the internet. Today on the show, inside the online black market for poop. I'm Lizzie O'Leary, and you're listening to What Next TBD, a show about technology, power, and how the future will be determined. Stick around. Reboot your credit card with Apple Card, the only credit card designed for iPhone. It gives you up to 3% daily cash back on every purchase. It's real cash that never expires or loses value. Apply for Apple Card in the Wallet app on iPhone. Apple Card issued by Goldman Sachs Bank USA, Salt Lake City branch, subject to credit approval. Daily cash is available via Apple Cash Card issued by Green Dot Bank, member FDIC, or as a statement credit. Terms and more at applecard.com. This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Hey listeners, whether you love true crime or comedies, celebrity interviews, news, or even motivational speakers, you call the shots on what's in your podcast queue, right? And guess what? Now you can call the shots on your auto insurance too. Enter the Name Your Price tool from Progressive. The Name Your Price tool puts you in charge of your auto insurance by working just the way it sounds. You tell Progressive how much you want to pay for car insurance, then they'll show you a variety of coverages that fit within your budget, giving you options. Now that's something you'll want to press play on. It's easy to start a quote, and you'll be able to choose the best option for you fast. It's just one of the many ways you can save with Progressive Insurance. Quote today at Progressive.com to try the Name Your Price tool for yourself and join the over 28 million drivers who trust Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. The kind of FMT that Mayo Clinic doctor was talking about is foreign infection called Clostridium difficile, also known as C. diff.
A fairly common and fairly pretty, gnarly bacterial infection that can be caused by a variety of different things. And one of the things it can be caused by is an antibiotic that you might take that might kind of purge your gut of this good bacteria.
So it's like your gut got nuked by some other antibiotic, and the idea is that the FMT can reseed it with healthy microbes.
Yes. And by the way, I think this also adds to some of the mistrust that people that are interested in this stuff might have of conventional medicine. Because if I was told that, the reason I'm having this horrible abdominal crisis is because I was prescribed an antibiotic a couple years ago, that just might get you thinking about the medical apparatus in a slightly different way, I think.
Is FMT legal?
It is legal, but only for treatment for C. diff, and only if other treatments have failed. So if you have C. diff and you went through more conventional treatments, those don't work out, then you might be able to get approved for an FMT. That said, there are a wide variety of experimental, FMT treatment for a huge variety of things.
At hospitals in conventional ways?
Yeah, at hospitals, done by universities. There's a stool bank called Open Biome that supplies a lot of well-screened poop, because this poop does need to be well-screened. And there's been evidence that FMT could, maybe help with Crohn's disease, or even things like autism symptoms. Like, there has been some legit research to say that this stuff could work. The research is all super early. And again, everything is only approved for C. diff. But when you read those studies and you're something like Alexandra, maybe that gets you thinking that, man, if I could only get this, then that's going to solve these problems.
That longing for a treatment, combined with frustration with doctors and the open nature of the internet, creates the perfect conditions for a DIY community.
So the thing that's funny about FMT is just how low tech it is, in the sense that the gray market could be as simple as, I'm going to go get some poop from someone and they're going to hook me up with that. But human microbes, which is the preeminent gray market for poop on the internet, was founded in 2020 by this guy, Michael Harrop, who has been around in the FMT community for a long time. That's what he told me. Has been on these same forums and places that something like Alexandra has been to. And he got the idea that he could kind of create this network on the internet to hook up prospective donors with prospective buyers, where he's going to send out a lengthy questionnaire to people that want to donate poop. If through this questionnaire it looks like they have quality poop, if they haven't had an autoimmune disease, if they, all these different factors, if they pass this questionnaire, then someone who wants an FMT can go to this big Google Doc and be like, that's that guy right there. I want the 6'2" guy that's was a swimmer in high school. I want to buy some of his poop.
Human Microbes also has a pretty killer YouTube channel where they advertise for donors.
We want your poop. No, we need your poop. Let me explain. I'm with humanmicrobes.org, and your poop could change someone's life.
Yeah, so back to Luke. Who is the ideal fecal donor?
According to another website that Michael Harrop owns called humanmicrobiome.info, the ideal donor would be a 16-year-old Michael Jordan, I believe is what he said. Someone who is just this, the peak of the human genome, and also who's young enough that has not had any antibiotic treatment. Now, again, this website is run by someone who does not have a background in medicine, who he told me he dropped out of high school because of a variety of his own kind of gastrointestinal problems. That's the thing that, like, I think colors a lot of this community is if when you interact within the medical world, right, you're just told stuff all the time that doesn't add up in your own kind of layman's understanding of medicine. Like, I don't really know how my Advil works or how an anti-deflammatory is going to help my headache. I just trust it. In this world, there is like kind of like an A to B to C that I think people find comforting of like, I'm sick. I'm going to put good bacteria in me from someone who clearly seems healthy, and that's going to make me better. There's like a logic to it that I think people can follow, that I think people find kind of calming in an odd way.
Human Microbes even created a Google spreadsheet of all its donors so potential recipients can learn about them. The document lists their age and location, sometimes hobbies, like the nurse who does CrossFit, and the all-important, somewhat graphic descriptions of the stool samples they are selling. Like any good internet product, there is a place for user feedback.
They have little reviews. The people that purchase stool from Human Microbes can leave basically they can say how they were feeling, what their symptoms were before they started inserting this poop into their body, and how they felt afterwards and what the results were. And that can range from people saying, my gas got way worse. It can be people saying, all of my symptoms got way better. My libido dropped. All this difference of a very rudimentary version of like a clinical test, I guess, is what is going on here.
When we come back, why doctors think DIY FMT is completely nuts. Reboot your credit card with Apple Card, the only credit card designed for iPhone. It gives you up to 3% daily cash back on every purchase. Plus, Apple Card has no fees, not even hidden ones. Apply for Apple Card now in the Wallet app on iPhone. Apple Card issued by Goldman Sachs Bank USA, Salt Lake City branch. Subject to credit approval. Variable APRs for Apple Card range from 19.24% to 29.49% based on creditworthiness. Rates as of February 1st, 2024. Terms and more at applecard.com.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
How much are people paying to get poop, and how are they doing this? Are we talking oral capsules or enema?
Yeah, so Michael told me that the average order is $1,000, and he splits it evenly between the donor and himself. And you can go both routes. There is an upper route and a lower route when you purchase poop from Human Microbes. The other important thing to know with Human Microbes is the poop that this guy is selling, this website is selling, Michael Harrop doesn't handle any of it. It is peer-to-peer. He kind of agents it. So if you...
It's like Facebook Marketplace for poop.
Exactly, yeah. So if you are a donor, you are harvesting your own poop and then putting it in your freezer until you get an order for someone who wants to buy your poop. Then you're going to put that in the mail on dry ice and send it to whoever is buying. So it's an ad hoc third-party situation.
Is there any screening or testing or any of that kind of thing?
Michael says that he does require his donors to pay for a fecal test to scan for certain diseases, certain bad actors in the stool, but that does not seem like it's a priority to me. It really kind of comes down to if you pass this questionnaire, which, again, it's an online questionnaire. I wouldn't say that's the most bulletproof way to screen for poop. However, I mean, like, I will say within the FMT, the more kind of above ground FMT world, screening is a huge part of the deal. Like, one of the sources I talked to joked that to be approved to be a poop donor for him, it's like as hard as getting into Harvard. Like, it is that difficult to have, to be qualified as someone who has superior poop.
There are two ways to do FMT yourself. You can ingest a little capsule of fecal matter or go the other route, an enema. And I apologize for what you are about to hear.
This poop is put on ice in the freezer and, then sent out to someone who's buying it. And that can be in the case where they are sent out in the sense that that the person who's the donor has very carefully put their poop into a series of capsules that they purchased off of Amazon, or it can just be a straight up turd that's been frozen and then defrosted, and then you mix it up in your saline solution and put it into your butt. So you can just be buying a literal piece of poop. That is.
I'm sorry. I really had it together until you said turd.
It's true. I mean, I think that's the best way to, that is. It should be like important to note here that there is literal pieces of poop being put on dry ice and sold through the USPS, and it might work. Maybe it's going to be great.
When you talked to doctors who do FMT or who study FMT in like a university setting, what did they say about this bootleg community?
One of the doctor I spoke to who works at the Mayo Clinic, I believe his quote was "horrible idea, terrible, terrible idea." And for him, it just comes down to the fact that this stuff isn't screened and it's against FDA regulations, all the stuff you'd expect. Another doctor compared getting a bootleg FMT to kind of like getting like a bootleg blood transfusion, where you just aren't going to really know exactly what the makeup is in someone's body if you're just getting someone else's blood and putting it in you. And there's reasons to worry about that. There have been people who have, died after getting an FMT. We don't know if there's debate whether or not it was caused by that.
Not from human microbes, but just from FMT in general.
Yeah, there was a documented case. It caused the FDA to put out like a regulatory warning, like demanding, like kind of like reinforcing the need for better screening for this stuff after a handful of people got sick and a couple people died after receiving an FMT that caused them to develop an E. coli infection. Now, again, we don't know if they died because of that E. coli infection. That is up to debate. But the fact is that people have gotten sick, I guess, at the very least, from FMT.
When you talk to Michael Harrop, who owns Human Microbes, what did he say about the dangerous part of this?
Michael Harrop likes to reinforce that this is all very untested science, that we are in a black box here, that this is all very experimental. Michael Harrop has even told me that he, someone who suffers from a variety of ailments similar to Alexandra, has not found an FMT donor for him that has allowed him to feel better, that he still suffers from all these problems, that he has not found the correct fecal makeup to assist with all his ailments.
But he still believes in FMT.
Still believes in FMT, and even Alexandra, when I talked to her, she did end up feeling better after getting this treatment, but had no idea. It wasn't like this poop arrived to her doorstep being like, all right, take one capsule every week for 5 weeks, and that's, and then we're going to check back in. It was just basically up to her to kind of experiment with this stuff. Everyone is kind of on board in the bootleg community that we're all kind of experimenting here and figuring it out on the fly. There is like kind of like a communal understanding of that. And I think that allows for people to be more okay with the mishaps in a way.
Like Luke said before, the one organization that is not cool with just figuring it all out on the fly is the FDA. When the agency learned about Harrop's underground FMT business, they sent him a letter telling him to knock it off.
The FDA cracks down on the Dallas Buyers Club of poop. I believe that's what he said to me. And he told me that he received a letter from the FDA investigating his practice. Basically, the FDA, I think accurately, wrote a letter to Michael saying, listen, you can't be selling this without certain licenses, and also you are selling FMT treatments for things that aren't C. diff, which is, again, that is the core thing with FMT treatment right now. It can only be used for C. diff. Michael Harrapin, Human Microbes, is not doing that. He told me he's set to meet with the agency in a few months, and we'll see where he goes from there. But I don't feel super optimistic about the future of Human Microbes.
You raised the idea of Dallas Buyers Club, right? The idea that an informal group of people can try out a novel treatment. Back then, they were talking about AZT and AIDS, a number of AIDS medications. And that turned out that they were right, that those medications did help with HIV and AIDS. Is it possible that in 10 years, 20 years, there will be a version of FMT that is used more widely that the FDA stands behind?
Over the course of reporting the story, I've become like an FMT believer. Like I am fully convinced that we actually are on the cusp of like a medical revolution. A lot of really smart people are excited about it. There's all this research getting poured into it. Do I think it's going to be via, untested, unscreened bootleg poop flying around the country? Probably not. But like, I don't know, man. Maybe it's like I'm probably a little bit more like, I think I have some woo-woo tendencies myself when it comes to medicine. So maybe I'm like more predisposed to believe in this stuff. But like, I talked to this one dad who has a son who has autism, and he flew down to Mexico and got his son an FMT because he read this stuff that maybe FMT can reduce autism symptoms. And he said it worked, that his son, became more responsive, all this stuff after getting an FMT treatment. I kind of like laughed it off. That sounds like quackery. I think we encounter that stuff all the time. And then you do some Googling and you see that, no, there's actually some real studies out here that like FMT has like reduced autism symptoms. One study done by Arizona State University, like a legit university. I find myself wanting to believe it. I want to believe that like that fecal transplants could be the thing that can make us all healthier. It just seems like a more natural way to become healthy. If all this stuff becomes like true, I'm on board. You're shaking your head. You don't like this idea.
You just sound like you're doing your own research on the internet.
I mean, a little bit, but also like, like the fact that like some real medical practices are taking some of the stranger and crazier evidence or research in this field seriously. I don't know. I find myself more convinced than I expected to be going into the story.
Luke, thank you for talking to me about this and making me say poop repeatedly.
It's my pleasure. Happy to be here.
Luke Winkie is a staff writer at Slate. And that is it for our show today. What Next TBD is produced by Evan Campbell, Patrick Fort, and Shayna Roth. Our show is edited by Paige Osborne and Rob Gunther. Alicia Montgomery is Vice President of Audio for Slate, and TBD is part of the larger What Next family. And if you like what we are doing here, even with the poop, I have a request for you. Join Slate Plus. It is the best way to support our work. Just head on over to slate.com/whatnextplus to sign up. We'll be back next week with more episodes. I'm Lizzie O'Leary. Thanks for listening.
How much do you think you're paying in subscriptions every month? The answer is probably more than you think. Over 74% of people have subscriptions they've forgotten about. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. With Rocket Money, you'll have a clear view of your subscriptions, and if you see something you don't want, Rocket Money can help you cancel it with a few taps. They'll even try to negotiate lower bills for you, by up to 20%. Just submit a picture of your bill, and they'll take care of the rest. Rocket Money has over 5 million users. and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions. Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/helpmesave. That's rocketmoney.com/helpmesave. rocketmoney.com/helpmesave.